Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Shannon and I am cabin crew. I've been doing cabin crew for about a year now. I did actually have 5 months off, but I am going back very soon. And in light of that, I thought I would do a little cabin crew Q&A for you guys. Before we get into it, how cute is this top? The sun came out today and I was feeling very springy. Springy? Feeling the spring vibes is what I mean by that. So I put something on a little bit floral because I think it's really cute. I think I got it from Hollister. Anyway, total side note. So I put a little questions box over on my Instagram story a little while ago and you guys dove straight in. You've asked me lots and lots of questions in regards to cabin crew life, things about destinations, what you can do, what you can't do, all sorts. So I'm going to go through as many as I can and answer your guys' questions. Okay, so the first question is, when is your official start date? So my official start date will be the beginning of April now. So I've been back and forth with my long-term sickness manager and she has said that it's best for me to call back and fit on the 31st of March. Then my start date will be the 1st of April. However, that is my first part-time week. So I'm going 75%. That starts in April and that whole first week will be my week off that I have for part-time. So then essentially I will start the week after that. So my first flight is more likely to be on the 8th of April, unless they put me in some training. And I'm not too sure whether they're going to do that yet or not. When you apply part-time, do you always get your week off at the end of the month? So my week off is actually at the beginning of the month, but for 75% in the airline that I'm with, it is a week off, 3 weeks on. A week off, 3 weeks on. So that won't necessarily always be in the same week. Next, what is the biggest expectation versus reality? I think this one sort of goes without saying, to be fair, but the expectation of being an air hostess is that it's all very glitz and glamour and everyone looks very put together usually, and you know, you've got your heels on, your uniform's very business class. However, that is not the reality. The reality is that your feet hurt, your feet smell most of the times because of the tights and the sweat. It's not a good mix. You're on your feet all the time, so your feet are bound to hurt and they're also bound to smell. The makeup you've got on your face will dry your skin out. The planes are already drying your skin out, so any makeup you have on your face is going to make it even worse, and the makeup will look nice and crusty by the end of your flight. We might look our best, but we probably don't feel our best. It's going to feel really glamorous, but actually it doesn't feel glamorous at all. It just looks glamorous. That is the biggest expectation versus reality. So I've got a few questions about sleeping on the plane. One of the questions is, do you actually sleep on the plane? Yes, we do. On the long haul flights, we have to have a break and we will sleep on the plane. Somebody has asked, how much sleep time do you get on long haul flights? That completely depends on how long the flight is, obviously, but with the airline that I work for, usually it's a case of, as soon as we're airborne, the first thing we start prepping is the service. Most long haul flights will have a second service also, so you'll have the first service practically as soon as we're in the air, and then you'll also have a second service, and that will happen just before we come into land. So we've got this block of time between the first service and the second service, and that is basically however much time we've got after we've had our food, because we have to eat after everybody else has eaten. That block of time gets splits in half, and half of the crew will be on the first bunk rest and the other half of the crew will be on second bunk rest. So say for example that block of time is 5 hours, the first crew will get a bunk rest of about 2 hours and 20 minutes. Then you'll have like a 10-minute waiver in the middle where crew are waking up, they're getting changed, they're getting themselves ready to come back to their crew duties, and then after that 10 minutes the second set of crew will go and do their 2 hours and 20 minutes, and then they'll come back after that time and then they'll have their 10-minute waiver as well, and then that makes up your 5 hours, and then you get into second service, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, that all depends on how long your flight is. It also depends on how long your service is going to take you. On some flights you might only have half the airplane full, so then your service isn't going to take anywhere near as long as it would if it was full. So that all of that gets taken into consideration, and that will determine how long you're asleep for. Along with that, somebody's asked, what are the sleeping compartments like? So the way I tend to describe it, they're all different on every aircraft as well, by the way. If you think of what a stereotypical tour bus would look like, you know, like in the movies, you know, This Is Us, the One Direction movie, you know, where they have the tour bus and their little beds are down the side. It's basically like that pretty much, but it depends on the aircraft. So like some aircraft you literally walk up some stairs and there's like one there, one there, one there, one there, one to either side of you, so you sort of just get up and like fold over into one of these beds. Like I said before, it's not the most glamorous of things, but like once you're in, it's literally just like a mattress and you sort of bring up the bed in, and then they'll have like little cubby holes inside for like putting like a book or your phone or water and things like that. So yeah, they're for convenience purposes only. They are not all that comfy. The lighting is so crappy today. The sun came out and then it has disappeared, so I'm really sorry if the light is going in and out today. Somebody asked, do you know which other crew members you're flying with beforehand? Yes, you do. When you get your roster, you'll be able to click on the flight and then see who's crew with you. That is obviously subject to change because people swap their flights and some people are sick, and then you get last minute standbys and things like that. If you're on standby, you don't have a clue obviously who you're joining because you don't know what flight you're going on to. But yeah, if you're rostered something and you're sticking with that trip, then you'll know who's going to be on that flight. So yeah, we do know. Somebody said, how do you cope travelling to different countries and being away from family and friends? My answer about 5 months ago would have been, I don't. It is actually really hard. Obviously, FaceTime. I'd FaceTime a lot. FaceTime obviously is a key thing, but it's also really hard because you're on different time zones. So when you're awake, there's the potential that all of your family and friends are probably going to be asleep. So yeah, I don't know. It's even harder as well when crew don't want to go and do anything, because then you're sort of, unless you go out and do something on your own, which some people are comfortable to do, some people aren't. Sometimes you'll just stay in the hotel room and that can get really lonely. So I take books. I make sure I sign into the Netflix on the smart TV in the hotel so that I'm still doing things that I would be doing at home, for example. One thing actually that I don't know if it's helped me yet because I haven't got to experience it, but I'm sure it will. My friend Robin got me a present over Christmas. She got me a little hot water bottle. This would be one of my tips for bunk rest, by the way. If there's any future cabin crew members watching, take a hot water bottle with you. Basically, she knows I love penguins and it's obviously a hot water bottle, which she knows would be really helpful on the plane. But also she said an idea for me would be to spray it with my boyfriend's aftershave, for example, and then I'd still like feel close to him, I guess. But it's something she says that she's done before when her partner's been away and it's really helped her. So maybe if that's not something you've tried before, maybe try it. I'm definitely going to try it. I'm going to bring it with me on every trip now that I have it. So thank you, Robin. But yeah, that one is a really hard question. Obviously, coping strategies are different for everybody. What works for you might not work for others, but it is hard. It is very hard. Favourite place that you've been to? I mentioned this in my trip rankings that I did a little while ago. If you haven't seen that video, then go and watch it. It was actually really fun to do. I am a Disney lover, and because of being cabin crew, I've had the pleasure of being able to go to the Disneyland in California and Disneyland in Shanghai, and both were amazing. Both of them are at the top of my list, absolutely. But for the place itself, I would say Cape Town in South Africa. I did so much. I had the best crew ever. I had a really nice time. So if you haven't already seen those vlogs, go and check them out. Somebody has asked, when you get off at a different place to have fun and buy things, do you also take hold luggage? Sometimes yes. Most of the time, no. I try not to check in a bag if I don't have to, because when you get off of that flight, all you want to do is get on the bus to get you to your hotel room and sleep. That's it. You don't want to sit and wait for a bag. With that being said, you are very much entitled to bring one on a long haul flight. A lot of people check in a bag for places like South Africa because they bring back loads of bottles of wine with them, because South Africa, like Cape Town and Johannesburg, are known for their wine. The only time I've taken a check-in bag was when I went to both of my Disneyland trips, so California and Shanghai, purely because I had lounge flyers that I wanted to bring with me. I had spirit jerseys, I had ears that I wanted to bring, so I wasn't squishing them into my cabin suitcase because I would have had no room for anything of actual importance. I just would have prioritised the lounge flyers and Disney merch because that's who I am. If you've got a decent sized cabin suitcase, then you can get everything you need in there. It's not necessary. The only thing that makes it hard with a cabin suitcase is your liquids. If you're going to a hot country for 5 days, you know you're going to want to wear sun cream, and a little pot like this is just not going to cut it, so you're going to have to buy some out there, which is a little bit of a nuisance. But yeah, I wouldn't say that you needed one, but you can take them. Have you had celebrities on your flights? Yes, I have. And somebody's also asked me what's your funniest work story, and this is probably one of them, to be fair. I've met 2 celebrities. I've been on the aircraft with more, but I haven't been in direct contact with them, so I wouldn't say I've actually met them, but 2 I've met. So my first one that I came across was will.i.am. I actually sat him in first class, which was really scary for me. I think it was one of my first long hauls as well, so I was a nervous wreck. But I was at the boarding door, and it's then your duty, if anyone comes in that's first class, if there's nobody else around, you have to direct them to your seat. At least it is in my airline. And will.i.am and his brother literally came up to the door. You know when you have to do a double take? I was like, oh hi, okay. And then my manager, who was opposite me on the door, was like, can you escort this gentleman to his seat? And I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then I was like, what do I do? Like, I'd never even stepped foot in first class other than during my training process, and that was empty. And so I think I sat him down and then like ran to one of the other crew members and was like, what do I do? And they were like, oh, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this. I was like, okay. All of a sudden I was working in first class of will.i.am. And I think at one point he took the mick out of my accent. So then I took the mick out of his accent back. Thankfully, he laughed about it. But yeah, we had a little laugh about that afterwards, and that was that. I have also met James McAvoy, which was... he was bigger than will.i.am to me. It was on a short haul flight. I think I was going to somewhere like Venice. He was wearing a cap, and I slapped myself on the wrist now thinking about it, because I should have recognised him, but I didn't. And neither did two of the other girls that I was working down the back with. And he came down to go to the toilet. So he went to the toilet, came back, and he stood there chatting to us, and we were just talking about the flight and, you know, the normal things. Have you been busy today? We were saying, yeah, you know, this is probably our third flight because it's short haul, so we've done about 20-30 flights that day. I'm joking, that's obviously an exaggeration, but it felt like it. And we were like, oh yeah, we've been busy, chat. I've still not realised that James McAvoy is James McAvoy by this point. Shocking behaviour. Then he went back to his seat, and I think I was on the PA, so I was doing all the talking during the, you know, the demo. And one of the girls obviously went down to demonstrate everything. She had to do the life jacket and all of that. And she was stood right by him apparently. She came down and she said, there's an actor on this plane. And we were like, what? She said, there's an actor on this plane. The guy from Split, she went. And we were like, no, he's not. We were all thinking we would have seen him. We've been up and down this cabin more times than you can count. We would have seen him. And we have this thing on our work phones where you get a passenger list basically, so you know if there's any specifications, if people need certain things. So we have a list of everybody in their seats. So I'm scrolling down and I'm looking. So I'm thinking, it's Guy from Split. I know his name's James McAvoy. And I'm like, surely not. I really didn't believe her, like, at all. And there it was, James McAvoy. And I was like, no, he's on this plane. He's actually on this plane. And then when we were in the air, we then did our service, and on a short haul for us it was just a bottle of water and a snack. This is a really around the houses way of me trying to explain this, but I've got to give you context, right? So then I'm going down with the trolley, me and this other crew member. She's doing the snacks, I'm doing the waters. And there's 3 seats on each side. Sometimes I give water directly to each person. Sometimes the person on the aisle seat just put their hands out because maybe they're part of a family or something, and they'll just take them and dish them out themselves. But I aim to do that for everybody. So I'm giving everyone in their water, and I turned to him and I was like, oh my God, I've noticed him now. And I'm like, it's James McAvoy. And he's one of these people. So I give him 3 and he dishes them out. He's on his own, by the way, travelling completely on his own. And he dishes them out. He's such a helpful man. And then obviously I realised what he was wearing, and I was like, he was the guy that went to the toilet. I've had a full-blown conversation with this man and not knowing who he was. And I was fuming at myself afterwards. He is so lovely, one of the loveliest people I've met on board. Also, the lady opposite him across the aisle, she was a nervous flyer, and we spotted times throughout the flight that he was like checking on her, and he wasn't flying with her, I swear. He was, oh, what a gent. Bloody loved him. So yes, I've met famous people, and that is probably one of my funniest stories. I think I answered this one in my last Q&A, and I can't actually remember what I said, so it'd be interesting to see if I say the same thing. But somebody's asked, how do you overcome jet lag quickly? I don't think you can. I really don't think you can, and I think it depends completely on how you are feeling and how your body is feeling that day. You cannot call it. There was another crew member that I met, and her rule was, on landing day, if she was to get home before midday, then she would sleep until midday, however long that may be. However, if she landed and then by the time she got home it was after midday, she would push through and stay awake. I do try and do that, to be fair. I do try and stay awake if I can, but also that's probably the worst advice to give, because if your body is saying sleep, you should sleep. But also I get so scared that I'm gonna miss out on things at home because of jet lag or because I was too tired to go, and I don't want that to happen, so I do try and push, but that's probably really bad advice. And lastly, somebody has asked me, how long did your referencing process take? I'm currently in the process of mine. Exciting. Congrats for getting this far, but I want to apologise to you in advance for the next couple of weeks, because the referencing process is an emotional roller coaster. It is horrible, and I'm pretty sure a lot of cabin crew will agree with me on this. I'll tell you the time it took for me, but I was actually one of the quickest. So please bear that in mind. So I applied around May of 2022. That was my whole assessment, application process, all of that. I then booked in my online assessment because there was an assessment day, but because it was COVID times, we did it over Zoom. I don't know if they still do it over Zoom now or if they may be changing it up so that it's back in offices, but my assessment was online. I did that in June, so that already was quite a quick turnaround. And then I got my acceptance letter and the all good to go, your cabin crew, literally like a week later. So that part was really, really quick for me. But obviously, once you've got that acceptance letter, like the question said, you have a referencing process. And that basically means that they have to dive into your background, reaching out to all the jobs you've had in the last 5 years. And they need a reference from every single one of them to make sure that, you know, you were accounted for at all times and you weren't doing anything that you shouldn't be. And if you have gaps, so for example COVID, there's a lot of gaps for a lot of people, you need to get a reference from somebody that isn't a family member but that can vouch for the fact that you were at home not able to work because of COVID, which sounds ridiculous, I know, but it's important because of the amount of security within the industry, which makes sense. However, it is not the most organised section of the process. Actually, that is a really nice way of saying it. It is the absolute shambles. At least it was for the airline that I'm with. My referencing started in June and my start date that they originally gave me was in September. And come September, they still hadn't done it, and then I got pushed back to October. The only reason I was ready to go into my training in October was because I was on the phone to them all the time. What can I do? Who can I reach out to? How can I help? Because otherwise they just push you to the side and they forget all about you. So if you're currently in your referencing process, my first tip is ring them. Do not be scared to go, how are you getting on? Have you managed to find it from this person? Do you need me to contact anyone? My second tip is, if you currently have a job and you're like, oh, my start date's in September, I will quit so that I'm ready. Don't do that. Do not quit. Even if you have it in writing, a contract that is starting on that date, do not quit your job, because I left my job thinking I was starting on September 22nd and then they said, oh, you're not ready, here's your new start date, and it was October 13th. So then I had a whole nother month to wait without a job, and that for me felt awful. And that is the quickest turnaround I am yet to have seen. There are people that have waited a year, there's people that have waited 6 to 8 months, and that is not a rarity either. That happens a lot. So please don't quit your job, and please do the most that you can. And yeah, good luck, because that whole stage is just horrible, but it will happen. You just need to do your part, basically. I'm here praying for you. And that is most of the questions. There's a few other questions on there. Some are asking for advice and tips and things like that. I'm actually going to put them into separate videos because there's a lot to dive into, so look out for those. Hopefully they can be really, really helpful for you guys. But thank you to all of you that asked the questions. Obviously without your questions I wouldn't have this video, so thank you for getting involved. I also got some really nice messages from a lot of you, and I know I've reached out to you all as individuals anyway, but I just want to say again, thank you so much. They were really, really kind and they did actually really make my day, so thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you again for your questions. If you have any more questions, or if there's anything you want me to dive into further detail with, then let me know and I can make a video on it. And thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!